Boys and girls, welcome. Also there in the back, thank you for joining us. We're here to talk about food packaging, innovation, and sustainability in particular, and say why that is so much more than just talking about, let's say, recyclability in particular. In a moment, we'll introduce ourselves in a second, but if I tell you that I guess the main topic of, let's say, around which we want to explain sustainability in food packaging is in ready-made meals. Now, I guess a question to you is, what's important when you're packaging a ready-made meal? What's important? Could be anything. Yes? Temperature is important. Yes. What else is important? Taste is important. Yes. Shelf life is important. What else is important? Convenience is important. What else is important? Presentation on shelf and your your brandability. It's all truth. What else? Was already said, temperature. Mr. Temperature, you must have another one. Or nudge the guy next to you to come up with another one. Freshness. Excellent.
Very good.
So these are all reasons, you could say, these are all ways of making a better ready-made meal. And I guess what I would like to do with you over the next, let's say, 45 minutes or so, is to talk about how to improve these and how to actually turn this also into a message on doing things more sustainable, because they're all connected. The agenda we've prepared is relatively straightforward. So in a second, we'll be talking more about the technology of Micvac, which actually allows to do all of the things that we've just mentioned in ready-made meals, and how that actually builds into a story about sustainability and actually having a solution in market which is way better for the planet than whatever else is out there on that topic. And then we'll also share a little bit about how, let's say, the topic of innovation and sustainability works in consumer goods products and packaging in general. And what are some of the truths that are simply there that you have to take into account in order to get whatever, say, product or industry you work in consumer goods, to get that across the line. And then we'll share a few thoughts on where the future of this industry is going. So maybe just to kick off by introducing ourselves, maybe I'll start, Farhad. So my name is Costas. I'm one of the founders of an investment fund called Una Terra, but I've basically spent the past 25 years working in consumer goods and bringing innovations to market. And I'll be sharing some of the truths that I learned over that period with you halfway this show. And then with me is Farhad.
Yes, my name is Farhad Miri. I work for a company called Micvac. I will tell you a little bit more about Micvac in a few seconds. But about myself, I'm an engineer by education, but I spent most of my career in different commercial roles in different industries, but maybe the common denominators of all those companies being impact tech companies. And I'm very happy and excited to be here today.
I'll give you the clicker.
Very good. Thanks, Costas. So yeah, I would like to start by sharing a little bit about Micvac, a food tech company that started in Sweden, and it's an innovative packaging and processing solution company that combines specialized design packaging materials that is fully recyclable and monomaterial with the microwaving techniques to prepare ready meals from raw ingredients to fully cooked and pasteurized in less than 7 minutes. So it's a system solution that use a special process to cook the food inside the package and pasteurize it, and it does so in a very cost-effective manner. And we will learn a little bit more about how this is happening. But it's an idea that is to transform the whole ready meal industry. But how did it start? So it actually wasn't started as a way to produce ready meal. It was on a simple mission to find a ways to cook mussels and in a way that you could preserve the freshness and the taste of the mussel. And the journey led into a good discovery. And it turns out that the best way to cook mussel is by using a rapid thermal treatment, which is a fancy way of saying to cook it fast, but also to remove all the oxygen. So basically, by doing so, you could preserve the freshness of the mussel, and you could also extend the shelf life of the mussels far beyond what was available. And so the very natural next question was that what else you can actually use this process for? And as it turns out, it was it was the method was applicable to pretty much any other kind of ready meals, and it was possible to use that to produce any kind of like ready meals. Today, the majority of the ready meals are produced with the methods that either have a good quality, good taste, but they result in a short shelf life and therefore like they spoil very quickly, or they have a very long shelf life, but that is also come at the cost of having either preservatives or over-processing of the food, which means that you are impacting the quality of the food. So it feels like there was always this trade-off between the quality as well as the shelf life. And Micvac solution, or Micvac invention, I must say, was a turning point. By removing the oxygen, you could extend the shelf life far beyond what was available in the markets. We're talking 40 plus 45 days fresh shelf life without the use of any preservatives. So the combination of this fast cooking as well as the removal of the oxygens was resulting in the superior taste, quality, nutrition values, and so this wasn't just a technical achievement. It was opening a new horizon for the whole ready meal sector. So Micvac transformed from an idea into a real company, into a startup that's enabling the food producers with a better way to create the ready meals. And very quickly, the technology that is basically a combination of some special equipments, as you can see, with a very special packaging materials that we have developed, attracted several new players into the markets. Now, as with any other industry, it's evolving. And then the industry need is also evolving. And we have seen a couple of major challenges that has been escalating over the past few years. One of the key challenges that we have seen is the food waste that we are dealing with. The other challenge that we have seen quite a lot of that is the rising cost of production. So we have this challenge. We also have a lot of demands from the consumers, from the industry about the recyclability of the package itself. So I want to talk a little bit about some of these challenges. Let's talk about the food waste very briefly. It's an astronomical large problem. We all have heard about it, but according to the UN, in 2022, we wasted or lost 32% of all the foods that we have produced. And this is across the whole value chain. We're talking about the foods that goes wasted at the farm, at the factory, during the transportation, at the supermarket, or at the table. It's also across all different food categories. In UK alone, if you take the prepared foods, 27% of the prepared foods in UK are being wasted. So it's a large problem. It's a 2.5 trillion euro problem globally. But it's not only an economic problem. If you think about the other dimensions and the environmental impact of it, we are, only in US, we are wasting about 24% of our fresh water supplies. We are wasting something like 6% of our energy in US. And we are wasting more than 1 billion liters of gas to transport the foods that are not even being eaten. So it has several different dimensions. If you just consider the CO2 impact of the food waste, it's something about 8 to 10% of all greenhouse gas emissions. And that is effectively, if the food waste was a country, it was the third largest country in terms of the producing of the CO2. And then if you think about it from a social standpoint, we are living in a world that about 10% of the world are suffering from hunger, about a third are facing food insecurity. So it's quite clear that we need better solutions. We need innovations that actually could tackle these problems. Now, in order to address this problem of the food waste, we need to first understand the root cause of it, what does it come from, and also to have a better understanding of the far-reaching impact that it has. One of the principal reasons that affect the food waste is the short shelf life of the foods. And the problem is not linear, it escalates, right? As the food is moving up the food value chain, it exponentially increases. The food that is wasted at the farm has some impact, but as we process that food in the factory, transport it, we put a lot of natural resources, we put a lot of other resources into it, so that the problem just becomes bigger and bigger as the food goes up the value chain until it reaches the consumer. And then when it goes wasted at the table, then of course it's a much bigger problem. So one of the key mitigations to this problem is to find solutions to extend the shelf life. And that directly impacts the reducing of the food waste, but as I mentioned, it would reduce other impacts. So by providing this buffer for better distribution, for having better overall management of the food resources, it gives a little bit of a chance for the food to not being wasted. Now, it is important that whatever solution that we come up to extend the shelf life should not impact the quality of the food. As you mentioned, like the food at the end of the day is food, so it has to taste good. Otherwise, it won't be appealing to the consumer. So it has to be done in a way that it doesn't impact the quality or the taste of the foods. Food preservation is nothing new. We have been trying to do that for many, many years. Maybe from the beginning of the history, we have been trying to do that. But it's always come at this trade-off, that impacting the food. The other point here is that we need to find solutions to extend the shelf life without increasing the cost. Because if the product becomes more expensive, again, it doesn't come appealing to the consumers, and that doesn't make it possible to scale. So we need to find a balance between shelf life, the cost, and as well as the quality and the taste. I want to talk a little bit about some of the different factors that impact in the cost of productions. And the cornerstone of these factors, we have the labor cost. Over the past few years, we have seen the cost of labors, specifically for the manufacturing products, has been rising, and that has a couple of different cyclical reasons, also some structural factors that are impacting the cost of the labors. But it's also about the shortage. So it's the cost, and it's also the shortage of the labor. We have seen post-pandemic a massive shortage of the labors in several industries, specifically in industries where you need medium to high skilled workers. There are several other factors. The green transitions that we are now facing is creating a lot of jobs, which is great, but it's also doing so in the industry that we already have a shortage. So the gap is just becoming bigger and bigger. We also are facing the olding age population at the EU, where basically, like, the labor pool is just shrinking, and that is affecting this problem. So what that means is that a lot of manufacturing and a lot of basically the industry is looking for solutions to have better automations, to be able to automate the most labor-intense processes, to be able to manage their cost. Another important factor that we have seen is the rising cost, as well as the scarcity of the natural resources. The water is one, and then also like the energy. And the energy crisis has been something that we have been dealing quite a lot over the past. There is a lot of demand for the energy sources with less carbon footprints. And therefore, there is the increased cost of the energy sources, and we have like war and whatnot that is impacting the prices. So the energy, the water, labor, and lastly, we talked about the waste, but it's important to highlight the waste that we're having at the manufacturing, at the production, which is the food waste, but at the same time, that waste translates into the increased cost for the producers, and meaning increased cost for the consumers at the end of the day. So these are the factors that we have, the industry has been dealing with. Now we are in a packaging exhibitions. We cannot not talk about the recyclability of the packaging, and there is also a high demand about having more circular packaging. moving more towards the monomaterial packaging, as well as having packagings with better sustainability profile in general. So these are all the factors that are affecting the cost of the food. So the food industry is at this juncture of facing these challenges of the food waste and the cost, and also like demands for more circular and recyclable packaging. And what is needed to address these challenges is innovations that are forward-thinking and solutions that are tackle these problems. And those solutions, in order to make a difference, should be economically viable. It's not enough for a solution to just be sustainable, but comes at a cost that no one is willing to pay for it. So in order to have a solution to become a widespread and being able to scale, you need to have the economic viability of the solution is quite important. So I will take a pause here. I will pass to Costas, and then, yeah.
Thank you very much, Farhad. So one of the things that attracted me, I guess, originally to Micvac was, as a packaging company, they talk about way more they're doing for the planet than just talking about recyclability. This is about water consumption, food waste, energy consumption, and these are, of course, all things that add up to a more sustainable offer, but they also manage to translate that into something which has a benefit for their customer, being the retailer, and the end consumer in the form of taste. Now, what I'd like to do is just translate some of those things into, let's say, more general truth bombs for you all as an audience, and maybe some, let's say, little hooks for you to help you translate that into your own domain, into your own business, and for your own customers. And it's inspired a little bit by this sort of win-win-win principle. I mean, I've been in this industry for like 25 years, and in the old days, it was really simple. Either you made a better product, which was more expensive, or you made a cheaper product, which was the budget solution. And on either two of those messages, you could sell your product. Nowadays, it's become a lot more complicated. Any R&D manager I talk to, they get 3 assignments, basically. The product has to be better, the product has to be cheaper, and it has to be more sustainable. It's and. It means you need to win on all 3 fronts. It's virtually impossible if it's just presented to you in that form. Now, hopefully, I can show you it's not that hard. And Micvac is actually an example of how to do this. So let's start just with the, let's say, the world of consumers. You are all consumers, as much as you are professionals. And have a look at these 2 red sports cars. They're both electric, so they are very clean from that point of view. They're both being presented as the better solution for the planet, if you're driving a car. Nevertheless, one of them is very different from the other. So if I would ask you, which one is the desirable version? Which hand would you stick out? Was it on this side or on that side? Hey, and why is that? Why is that, do you wonder? Because they're both clean. Maybe let's say the radius to which you could, what do you call it? The mileage is a little different for them, but they're both clean. They both bring 4 people to their end destination. They're all doing what a car should do, isn't it? What is one that the other isn't? Well, I can tell you, one is desirable and the other is not. And this is a key thing that people forget when they start moving into sustainability projects and trying to make their product more sustainable, is they forget the product has to deliver on the essence of why people are even engaging with that category. So if it's ready-made meals, it has to deliver on taste. If it's not delivering on taste, people will not buy it. It's that simple. If it doesn't deliver on taste, retailers won't sell it. Same is true in this space. Now, of course, you're thinking I'm making this up a little bit, but I'm going to make it even more personal for you. How many of you know this product? How many of you consume this product? Probably also every one of you. Now, you knew for a long time 1/3 of this pot is sugar. It gives you a big fat ass. That's what it does. It makes you fat. But you keep eating it, even though you know it's bad for your health, it's bad for your teeth, it's bad for you in general. Now, over the past, say, 6, 7 years, I think a lot of people in the general population are clocking that of the other 2/3, half, so let's say another 1/3 of the product is palm oil. So every sandwich you make, that's another orangutan going homeless. Now, how many of you eat less, do you think, because of that message? If you're already not stopping eating this because it's making you fat, I can tell you people continue to eat because the product is desirable. And you can say that's, in a way, the essence of what you need to see to maintain when you're going down a path to make your product or your whole portfolio more sustainable. So let's dive into this topic a little deeper. again, innovation is not new to most of you probably, but might be new is the reason why. So again, working with businesses across the planet for a long time, what I've realized is when people say we want to innovate, and innovation is the answer, they forget to ask, what was the question? Why are you even innovating? And it's always a business answer that needs to come out. There's no other reason. You innovate because you want to protect your business from competition, for example. You want to grow your business to sell more. Or you maybe need to transform it because it's no longer doing what it should be doing. Problem is, though, people don't ask themselves that question. And this is just as true for the sustainability environment or sustainability projects. Why are you doing it? Which of these boxes are you trying to tick? Because what you need to succeed is no different. On the one hand, you need genuine customer and consumer insight. You need to know what problem you're solving. So it might be that you're solving a sustainability question for a retailer buying your packaging. You're definitely not solving that problem for a consumer. The consumer needs another problem to be solved. What's more, you need a commercially viable solution. No one is going to pay a penny more for a greener solution unless it's still as desirable or maybe even more desirable as a product than the original it's replacing. That's why you keep buying Nutella, even though it's a very non-desirable, I say a non-sustainable product. And this is just as true for anything related to better for planet projects. Now, I'm now part of an investment fund. We see a lot of startups out there, but the rules for basically new, more sustainable solutions in the market are just the same as for old, big industries trying to create greener solutions. And those rules are, again, the same as they've always been for innovation. Now, you can create a 2x2 like this if you know your market, if you've been in your market for longer than 6 months. You will have picked up these things. It's really simple. The only thing is you need to stick to them. Every category has basically its pulling factors and its barriers. And if you look at those through the lens of either a consumer, the business to consumer, say top row, or through business to business, which is probably your direct customers, what you realize, there are things that pull them to your product, or your product gets pulled to them, and there are things that come in the middle, that sit in between. Just to call out two that are on screen now, if you have a consumer product and you are expecting your consumer to take even one extra step to enjoy it compared to what you previously did or compared to what your competitor did, you will fail in market because you've lost on convenience, which someone said when I asked what's important in ready-made foods. This is true for any category. Similarly, if you have a product that is hard to buy by your customer, for example, because they're used to buying liquids and you're telling them they should now buy a powder, they will not buy because it's too hard. It's not what their infrastructure is built to do. These are truths that you could debate until we'll say green in the face and hope they're not true, but they simply are true if you're planning to operate at scale. Let me give you another truth bomb, which is, it's connected to a principle called the Lindy principle. Some of you might have heard of this. As an example, I can talk about Harry Potter and the Bible. Both have sold about as many copies in the past 20 years. Yet I can be pretty sure that 1,000 years from now, people will still be reading the Bible and they will no longer be reading Harry Potter. So the snapshot of a particular market is not the same as a long-term story. And why is this? It's because when products are adopted and consumed, the longer they are used, they become part of the fabric of society, you could say. And societies are made up of many, many different layers in which your products operate, and they evolve at different speeds. So whatever was maybe the flavor of the day will evolve like this, very, very fast. Every year there's a new story. The way people do commerce changes much slower. Infrastructure is even harder to change, of course. Once the factory's there, it's there. So your new product better run off the same factory as the old one. Otherwise, it's going to be an expensive and very long story. Governance, that's things like regulation, but also religion, culture. Those things all are very, very slow to change. In the domain of sustainability and food in particular, you can probably think of some easy examples. The switch to plant-based food is a very, very tricky switch because it's presented as something you should do now. Even the formats like hamburgers and hot dogs are very sort of pop culture formats, whereas the reality food is cultural. So an Italian mama in, let's say, Milan will not make her meatball recipe using plant-based minced meat. She'll get the best beef that she can find because it's deep in culture. It also means that things like plant-based foods are adopted very quickly because they're a fad, and then let go of again very quickly also, because they've not become part of a culture. So, in particular when you're looking at sustainability topics, they tend to touch every single one here, every single layer. They touch culture, but they also touch infrastructure. For example, we just heard a story about switching to a circular economy when you need a system to bring products back, requires new infrastructure. It's very hard to do. And every layer here, you could say, is even harder if you do not have the support of the layer below. So infrastructure changes require regulation. Regulatory changes need to be supported by the local culture, or they will not happen. Cultural changes need to be supported by what nature can bring, otherwise they won't happen, etc. So these connect very strongly. To give you a very, say, touching example from about a year ago, I stood in front of a much larger audience, I must admit. It was about 300 people, all working for R&D, at Danone, Special Nutrition and Baby Food. And they had just launched this. And I took a bold step, because they actually paid me to come and present to them. And I said, I think this product is not going to be on market very long. Because what is this? Let's have a close look. This is a baby food, infant nutrition. It's what you feed your newborn child. And it is actually largely plant-based. Now, you can kind of imagine the boardroom meetings where products like this come into existence. They see the trend on things are going plant-based. They just bought a whole range of plant-based brands like Alpro, etc. And they're saying, we need to move this into every possible category we have. Now, let's look at this through a couple of the lenses I just had on screen. Let's say culture, for one. Just imagine grandmother comes and looks after the baby for an afternoon, and she sees this on the kitchen top. I can tell you what goes into the trash when she sees this. You're not feeding my baby plants. You feed my baby milk. That's the message. But what's more, if you go down to the nature level, this goes against what it means being a mammal. Not even cows drink plants before they're like 7 or 8 months old. They suck mother's teat. That's, you could say, what being a mammal is about. So I must say, I gave them a year before it would fail. It turned out to be 6 months, and it was already in the Kruidvat discount, section. Unsellable. And again, this is the tricky thing also, because of course they spent an absolute fortune not just developing, but also testing this. When you go in front of consumers and you ask, do you want this sustainable solution? They will say yes. When they're in front of the shelf, maybe not. And that's a very, very difficult thing to keep your business alert to. And I can imagine some of you are in roles where you're actually defending sustainable solutions in front of leadership to say, yes, we have to do this. Market research is a tricky way of doing it. Anyway, a few other tips, a few other truth bombs before I hand back to Farhad. These two products are very similar, but also very different. It's a gin. On the left-hand side, your regular Beefeater gin by Pernod. It has loads of alcohol. On the right-hand side, the non-alcoholic Seedlip range. Very interesting story here. What's going on? How many of you are aware of Seedlip? Maybe raise your hand, or of alcohol-free gins in general. It's a UK market, or a UK product. So, superbly executed. It's a nice range of 3 products. It's very similar in setup as you would buy any gin. The flavor delivery is very, very good, but it has no alcohol. The need they're going after, the consumer need, is this sort of late afternoon adult drinks when you really don't want alcohol, but you still want to be able to mix as if you were drinking alcohol, etc. And they're delivering perfectly on this. So they already have let's say the customer, and I should say consumer need to sell this product. They also have the customer need, being the bars, because they have a range of products, which is great presence, let's say, at the bar. The real smartness is the commercial story to this, because it has no alcohol. And they even talk about this as being the brewed product. Well, I'll tell you what a brewed product is. It's a tea. This stuff costs pennies to make. It's not taxed like regular gin. It's taxed like a soft drink. And they charge it out at the same as the alcoholic competitor. So you can imagine the margin on this stuff is absolutely staggering. And of course, they didn't need to raise a lot of money to develop this product because they were making money like crazy. And Diageo eventually bought them. So another way of looking at sustainability, and funnily enough, this is actually very strongly in the message from Micvac, if you hadn't picked it up, it's take stuff out, could be physical, or in the case of Micvac, it's energy, take it out, take the waste out, take all the stuff out that people are actually paying for but not getting, keep it for yourself, and still sell it at the same price. Keep the desirability high, and sell less. You're selling basically less material, less energy, doing better for planet and making money. And that's in a way where this whole story is going. This is another product we've invested in ourselves, Beauty Disrupted. They have a very, very high-end, say, range of shampoos, conditioners, etc., but sold as blocks of soap. So there's no bottle, there's no water, so no gel, no foils, no big bow tie around it. But the price point, I mean, there are women, I don't know, maybe in this room now, who pay 21 euros for that little block. I mean, I'm a guy, I would never do it, but that's how desirable this shit is. Even though they're, in materials point of view, they're receiving only a fraction of the original. So this is what, I guess, what my let's say, truth for you is, which I hope you can work towards, is that little simple model. You need to get to a situation in your own organization where sustainability is not owned only by R&D or by, let's say, technical supply chain people, because then it's just cost optimization programs. You know how to do those, but you're never really allowed to do something to the product people will notice. On the other hand, if it's only owned by marketing, you get greenwashing. The examples I'm giving you is when those two functions work together and create the and I started off with. You create a better product, you create a cheaper product, and because you're doing it cheap in the right way, you're creating a more sustainable product. From the Micvac point of view, that's, you could say, what the change they're making. Because ready-made meals have been around forever. It's a 60-year-old product. Delivering that, on the other hand, what comes out of a Micvac tub is basically the desirable stuff that you want. And at the same time, it's way more sustainable than the product on the right. So we have a final slide and some final thoughts. I labeled it the future. Yes. I think you were going to wing this without pictures, right?
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about where Micvac is going from here and the history, the story of the Micvac from. As we look into the future and the evolving need of the industry and the landscape, it's quite clear that we need system-based innovations. The innovations that identify the inefficiencies in the whole system, in the whole chain, and offer solutions that every stakeholders can benefit from. So I think Micvac is a great example of these system-based innovations that, by using less energy, water, labor, and significantly reducing the waste, it offers the food producer a clear economic case to improve their bottom lines. And then, on the other hand, it produces a food that has a much longer shelf life and directly impacts the reduction of the food waste, energy waste, resource waste, and also since it uses a fully recyclable monomaterial packaging, it has a positive impact on the environment overall, or less negative impact on the environment, I must say. So it has a clear environmental benefits as well. And then lastly, it produces a food that has a better taste, quality, and nutrition values. So it's a solution that saves money, delivers impact at the scale, and also creates a superior meal. And that is what Costas was talking about, this win-win-win solution. And I think this example shows how powerful thinking about the whole system can be. And by looking at bigger pictures, we can find innovations that just doesn't fix one problem, but actually lead the dance in the industry. So historically, Micvac Solutions has been the first choice for many new entrants, the companies who are looking for innovations to address the demands and the needs from the consumers, but also to solve the sustainability issues that they have. And but it's quite the chill ready meal sector is quite a massive market. We're talking about a market with more than 8 billion units sold globally, and it's also growing at a rate 5 to 15%, depending on where you are in the world. So there is a significant opportunity to actually make a real impact. Now, the challenge in the food industry and the ready meal industry isn't just about green practices at the surface level or quite shallow solutions. It's about real innovations that significantly shift the paradigms and move beyond just having incremental improvements and come up with the groundbreaking innovations that change the way that we think about producing and also consuming products. I think think another great example is Tetra Pak, and they changed the game by the way that we think about dairy products to produce and also to consume. And I think that is the kind of thinking that we need in the industry to solve those major challenges that we are facing. Now, today we have a lot of hype. There's a lot of focus on AI, on deep tech, on those kind of cool sort of like innovations. And the risk there is that the industrial solutions, the industrial transformations that we need to actually tackle those big problems are being pushed out. So we need to push for more of those type of like innovations and that are going to tackle the issues like the food waste and the sustainability. And the Micvac mission goes beyond the new entrants that have already adopted the Micvac solutions, and it's about aiming to convert the mainstream established producers who are producing millions and billions of ready meals every day. And it's not a strategy just about like expanding the market presence. Don't get me wrong, we are at the end of the day a for-profit business, so we want to expand, but it's also about rising the industry standards. And we are planning to do that by leveraging the success stories that we have already succeeded in our home market, and we are going to, by using those success stories and presenting the benefits that the solution has to convert the mainstream markets. Now, to just summarize, the approach that we're taking is to go with the better quality, with less cost, and then also with a positive environmental impact. And it's a very exciting way that we have ahead of us. And we think like the food producers, by adopting technologies like Micvac technology, can improve their operational efficiencies, but also have a more sustainable product. So the sustainability and profitability shouldn't come one versus the other. They can work hand in hand. And we strongly believe that this is an approach that we hope others in the industry would be also encouraged to come with the innovations that put these two together.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Guys, any questions before we wrap?
You mentioned shelf life. Can you give us an indication what sort of extension of shelf life we're talking about?
Extension of shelf life.
Yes. So Micvac solution is able to extend the shelf life of the ready meals at least 45 days, and that is done without the use of any preservatives. And then I say at least 45 days because it also depends on the recipe and the type of foods. We have done a lot of shelf life studies, and we saw that actually the food from a microbiological standpoint can be fresh for even a longer period, longer than 45 days. The problem is that the food after that 45, 50 days start becoming a bit soft, so it's more about the way that it looks. And there are some certain, of course, recipes. Take mashed potato as an example, that is already a soft product, so it doesn't really matter. That can have a much longer shelf life. Yes?
Are you really representing the film or the entire solution?
We have an entire solution, and our entire solution consists of some equipment for cooking and pasteurization of the food that works hand in hand with the packaging material. And our packaging material is 3 components, basically. It's a tray, it's a fully PP tray. It's a lead film that is also made out of PP. And then we have a venting or a valve component as well. So we supply both the packaging materials and the equipments that work hand in hand together. So if you want to warm up the food as a consumer at home, the best method that we recommend is to using a microwave. And the reason for that is that we have a special design tray that enables the even reheating, so the heat distribution. So it's not like that part of the food is cold and part of it is not warm enough. And basically, all you need to do is that you can just put the package inside the microwave, and you don't even need to make any holes in it, because we have a valve technique that as soon as the food is warm enough, it opens up, and then it also actually makes a whistling sound, and that's an indication that the food is ready to be eaten. So we recommend mostly to use the microwave for reheating of the foods.
Excellent. Guys, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.